Hello there, grade 6. Today we are going to discuss about our first topic in mathematics, which is algebra. Your reaction might be, oh no, algebra, this is very hard. It's actually not hard as long as you'll pay attention to my lesson. So please pay attention to my lesson. Okay? So to start with, basic things that you have to be familiar first while learning algebra. You're going to learn about coefficients and variables. Just for you to further understand, coefficients is like the base of a variable. So for example, we have 4x. Our 4 is basically our coefficient and our x is basically our variable. What do you mean by variable? You might ask. What is a variable? Variables are usually unknown. They are unknown, which means we can replace it with any value. By the way, just for you to understand, since you are used to your basic mathematics, no, you might actually think that 4x is 4 times, which is not. Okay, do not read it as 4 times. It is 4x, where x can be replaced by any value. So in this case, to explain to you further the relationship between a coefficient and a variable, the relationship between 4 and x is actually multiplication. For x is actually 4 multiplied to x, or 4 times x. Then again, you might tell me, now what is 4 times x? I do not know. 4 times x is 4x. And if you are going to substitute a value with it, for example, let's say if x is equals to 2, which means 4x is equivalent to 4 multiplied to 2, as we are going to substitute the value of x to 2, which means 4 times 2 will give you 8. Just to remind you that in higher mathematics, the multiplication symbol is different. It can be represented by this dot over here, or by simply putting a letter, which is a variable, and a number, which is the coefficient, together. So for example, if you're going to encounter a value such as 5x, this actually means that it's 5 times x. If you encounter a value such as 4x, y, and if you notice, we now have two variables over here. You now have x, and you also have y, which still means 4 multiplied to x multiplied to y. Again, just to make things clear that variables can be replaced by any number. And in higher mathematics, we call that term as substitution. Substitution. So what do you mean by that? So let's say in this case, let's try to get this number. Let's try to get this term 4 times x times y, in which, let's say, x is equivalent to 2 and y is equivalent to 3. So remember that. Let's try to change the value of x to 2 and the value of y to 3 by simply rewriting. Again, this is what I usually remind my dear students, is to rewrite the equation. By simply replacing the value of x and y, we now have 4 multiplied to 2 multiplied to 3. Again, you might ask me, Teacher Mark, where did you get 2? Where did you get 3? Again, We already took the value as we are supposed to substitute the value of x, which is 2, and the value of y, which is 3. Just to make things clear. So we can now say that 4 times 2 is equivalent to 8. Times 3 will give us 24. Okay? So that's how we basically deal with coefficients and variables. So just a recap. Again, coefficient and variables. That coefficients are our base number placed together with a variable. So basically, a coefficient is a number that we multiply to a variable. So for example, we have 7a. Our coefficient is 7. Our variable is a. And the relationship between 7 and a is multiplication. Do not forget about that. It means that 7a actually means 7 multiplied to a. 7 times a. Okay? So going to our next topic. In this topic, we are going to learn some terms such as add, subtract. We also have more, less, twice, and even thrice. Or even a certain number such as 4 times or 9 times. So these are the basic terms that you have to be familiar when dealing with a linear equation, because this will be used in some of your activities in which you have to figure out how to answer it. You need your basic English skills here. Allow me to write 2 sentences. 1. Add 3 to x. And another one, add x to 3. You may end up with the same answer in this case, but we have to follow the proper way on how to write this sentence. Basically, we are going to change this English sentence to a mathematical term. So, add 3 to x. If you notice the sentence that you are going to add 3, 3 is what you're going to add to x. Which means in the original equation, we can say that x is already there. Like for example, add sugar to your drink. The drink is already there. All you have to do now is to add sugar to it. Make sense? Which means in this case, we can say that x is already there and you are going to add 3 to it. For our next sentence, it says here, add x to 3. And making the same logic earlier, that 3 is already there. And all you have to do is we are going to add x to 3. Which means that 3 is already there. And this is the time that you're going to write x or add x to it. So, 2 different sentences, 2 different mathematical equations as well. You may end up with the same answer, but still, the arrangement actually matters a lot. So, let's try to make use of more. More and add is actually just the same. So, for example, we have 3 more than x. 3 more than x. X is already there. So, which makes it x plus 3. That's 3 more than x. X is already there. So, that's why we add 3 to x. We don't add x to 3, but we add 3 to x. So let's try to make use of the term subtract. For example, let's say subtract 10 from A. From A. Which means in this sentence, it indicates that A is already there, and all you have to do now is to subtract 10 from A. Subtract 10 from A. If you're going to interchange the sentence, or the terms rather, let's try to interchange them. Subtract A from 10. So don't think that you will still have the same answer here, because obviously rewriting this, subtract A from 10, which means that 10 is already there. And all you have to do now is to subtract A from it. As simple as that. The term less is just the same as subtract. 4 less than x. 4 less than x, which means we are going to remove 4 from x, which makes this x minus 4. And if we are going to interchange the value again, let's say x less than 4. So the answer here will now be inverted as well. 4 is already there, and we are going to remove x from it. Okay? So let's try to make use of the terms twice, thrice, 4 times, and 9 times. For example, twice the value of x is actually written as 2x. Thrice the value of a is actually written as 3a, as it is 3 times the value of a. Just the same as for 2x, twice the value of x means 2 multiply the value of x, which is 2x. The same goes for other terms, such as 4 times the value of x, 7 times the value of x, 10 times the value of x, even a million times the value of x will be written that way. So for example, 100, let's say 90. 90 times the value of x. Which means this will be written as 90 times the value of x. Okay? So I hope I was able to make that clear. What we're going to do now is we are going to try to combine terms. Let us try to combine terms such as, what do you mean by that, teacher? What are you going to do? What do you mean by combine terms? Let's try to combine more and twice. Okay. So let's say, for example, 5 more than twice the value of x. So we have 5 more than twice the value of x. This means that we have to deal with this part of the sentence first. We have to get twice the value of x first. Twice the value of x is written as 2x. And it says here that 5 more than twice the value of x means that you are going to add more to twice the value of x, which is in this case, all you have to do now is to add 5 to the value of x. Let's take another example. Let's say we have 7 less than 4 times the value of x. Then again, this time we have to deal with this part of the sentence first. 4 times the value of x is written as 4x. 4 times the value of x. 4 times x. Okay. Kasi nga, like what I've explained earlier, 4x is basically equivalent to 4 multiplied to x. That's why it's written as 4x. Just to make it shorter. And we now have 7 less than 4 times the value of x. If you say less, we are going to make use of subtraction. So which means that 7 less than 4 times the value of x. Okay. Things can be very complicated at times. All you have to do is to make use of your basic English skills. You have to understand the sentence. You have to be able to have good comprehension when it comes to dealing with this part of mathematics. Let's try to complicate things. Let's take terms such as sum, difference, product, and quotient. Sum refers to the answer when we add. And difference refers to the answer when we subtract. Product is what you call the answer for multiplication. And quotient is what we call the answer of or after dividing. So to start with, let's say the sum of x and y. Sum of x and y. What do you mean by sum? Then again, it is what we call when we basically add two values. So the sum of x and y is written as x plus y. So if you're going to change the term, the difference of x and y is written as, when you mean difference again, what do you mean by difference again? It is when we subtract. The answer you call when we subtract. So that is written as x minus y. How about the product? The product of x and y. So the product of x and y is written as x times y, or simply x, y, with no space in between. X times y is basically written as x, y. The quotient of x and y. Then again, the quotient means what? The answer when we divide, which means this can be written as x divided by y. But in higher mathematics, we tend to express a division sentence as a fraction, which means x divided by y is equivalent to x over y. Again, it depends on how you say it, or depends on the variable that is being used. So for example, the product of A and 10. The product of A and 10. What do you mean by product again? What do you mean by the product? It is the answer when we multiply. So which means this is now written as A multiplied by 10. Higher mathematics, we write A times 10. And to finally write the answer is A 10 alone. Okay? That is how you write the answer. So let's try to level it up a little by combining what we have learned earlier and this one. So in this case, we have 6 more than the product of X and Y. It says here that it is 6 more than the product of X and Y. Then again, since we have this term over here, we have to deal with this part of the sentence first. The product of X and Y. What do you mean by the product of X and Y? It means that you're going to multiply X and Y. So basically, that's X times Y. Or can be written immediately as X, Y. And what do you mean by more? It means that you're going to add. Add by how much? Add by 6. Which means 6 more than the product of X and Y is written as XY plus 6. Okay? Okay, to see if you're able to understand further, let us try to have an online or a virtual activity. What do you mean by virtual activity? Virtual activity refers to that I'm going to give you something to answer just here in your head with a certain time. I'll just give you a few seconds to answer it in your head. Okay, are you ready? Let's try. Five less than A. How do you write this in mathematical form? Okay, the answer here is A minus 5. Were you able to get the correct answer? Okay, let's see. Okay, let's try. Add 10 to Y. Okay, the final answer here is Y plus 10. That's how you write add 10 to Y. Okay, another one. Sixteen less than C. What do you mean by 16 less than C? So the answer here is C minus 16. Okay, let's try another one. Eight times the value of X. The answer here, this is written as 8x. Initially, you can write it as 8 times x, but then you have to do the final form of 8x. Okay, so let's try to make it a little more difficult. Hindi naman gaano ka-difficult, but just a little. Just a little. Okay. Let's say 6 more than the sum of A and B. Sige nga. Okay. So in this case, we have to deal with this part first. The sum of A and B. What is the sum of A and B? The sum of A and B is A plus B. And later on, we have more. It says here that we have 6 more than the sum of A and B, which means we are going to add 6 to this part of the equation. But just to let you know that in this part, you have to add an open and close parenthesis to this part here because you don't want to deal or you don't want to break the rule. This is to indicate that we have to deal with that first. Remember your lesson in JAMDAS? We have to deal with the ones that are inside the parentheses first. And in this case, since A and B is the first thing that you have to deal with, you're going to add an open close parenthesis. Let's try one more. Eight less than the quotient of x and y. Then again, we have to deal with this part of the sentence first. The quotient of x and y. What do you mean by quotient again? Quotient refers to the answer when we are going to divide. So that's equivalent to x divided by y. But then again, as I've said earlier, that in higher mathematics, we have to express a division sentence to a fraction. X divided by y is equivalent to x over y. And as what I've said earlier, just for you to get used to the situation, we have to deal with this part of the equation first. And then let us apply 8 less than that value, which is in this case is equivalent to minus 8. And our final answer is x over y minus 8. So that's it.